One of those pairings that seem very odd. You wouldn't think they mesh well. Together, you get the best of both worlds, a team that can electrify a whole arena. Sorry, Rawk. Every segment of theirs was a hit, no misses, and on paper it sounds horrible. However, Goldust and Booker were talented. They had that skill to turn a negative into a positive. The proof is in their careers. Booker T was saddled with a king gimmick that was so stupid and basic, but he put effort into it. And to this very day, I often quote some of his dumb lines from that run. Dustin Rhodes, he took that Goldust gimmick and ran so far with it that I doubt anybody else would find the same success as he did. I guess opposites do attract. What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. The tag team is often remembered as one of the best things to come from 2002. They had promo skill and ring skill, and the thing that many talk about, the comedic skill. One moment, Booker would look on in horror at seeing Goldust at a 7-Eleven, and the next, he's out there swinging a lightsaber with him. Very fun interactions, and I was very interested in making this video for a while now. Then again, you could say that for just about most of my videos. But really, I wanted to save this one for a while. I was like, hey, why don't we do it now? You know, we haven't done something on Booker T in a while. Goldust, I don't even think we have a video on him on the channel. So right now, let's go back to early 2002. Around the beginning of the year, Booker T was taking L's like the 0-1 Bulls. He was clearly talented, but they preferred to see him do other things. He had this very one-sided but extremely entertaining feud with Stone Cold, a shampoo feud with Edge, and the man was just jumping around into some very odd stories. Goldust and other places had just returned to the WWF, and similar to Booker T, he wasn't doing much but on a lower level. Despite crossing paths in a negative way the previous week, Ric Flair, at the request of Goldust himself, booked a tag team match for both men. Booker was enraged over last week, and Goldust tried convincing him that he's the brightest star out there. It was a hilarious segment. The way Booker T just stared at him in disgust was something else. Goldust believed that they would make box office gold, and the 5-time champion was lost. Later on, they go out there, and by the look of some external interference from Paul Heyman, who committed the act of raiding panties like he's Mr. Krabs, they won it. They found the same success the very next week, but Goldust got a little ahead of himself, you see. The man thought they were now buddy-buddy. Booker said that they're not a team, and Goldust said that he hasn't felt so abandoned since watching Home Alone 2. Then he placed the wig on Booker's head and called him a mixture of Lil' Kim and Denzel. So Booker said that if Big Bird and Spider-Man got busy, Goldust would be the lesbian illegitimate child? No. Even though Booker didn't want to be a partner, he still tried aiding him in a match against RVD. This didn't go the way that Goldust intended it to, and so Booker lost. Apparently, he continued stalking him throughout the week, and this came to a head at 7-Eleven of all places. So Booker wanted to drink from his own cup. In the journey of purchasing a Slurpee, the man was flat out hilarious. Just go watch this. Go watch this for yourself, please. He's thinking they sold out of the Booker T cups, even though they were never available in the first place, and this is when Goldust bumped into him. This time around, he's actually convinced Booker that a tag team is the best way to go, but the conversation went south when he offered Booker a bite of his wiener. It's for certain one of the most memorable moments to come from the tag team for me. You know, Goldust was talking about how this is mind games, this and that, and he was just rambling on. Well, Booker T just wanted to get on with his day. After Booker T cheated on him with Eddie Guerrero by teaming up with him, he decided to interfere, and this led to the RVD/Jeff Hardy duo scoring the W. This didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. Rhodes couldn't understand why these encounters end on such a bad note. At the same time, Booker T was revealed to be the newest member of the NWO, and already he had issues with the others because of Goldust's interference. He was shouting, "I'm not his friend," and he responded saying, "a companion." It also didn't help that the quote, "gold freak," ruined his night by interfering in his damn bed. And Booker's reaction is the funniest thing I've seen the entire week. Also, this was apparently a setup. Goldust managed to convince the girl to get with Booker. But back to Raw. X-Pac cost them the match as a way of increasing the tension between the two, and Booker didn't understand any of this, and they started calling him out over the previous night. Kevin Nash, though, quickly put a stop to this, and for some reason, Goldust ran away. Nash shouted at Big Show that he made these colors look pathetic. I think he's 3 years late on that, but nonetheless, there was some positive days for the NWO, although Goldust once again wanted to be a part of the group. Booker wasn't really angry at Goldie anymore, and even roasted him, saying he looks like an Oreo cookie. You could see that there's a little transition there. The next week, Goldust was the coach, and even had the goatee. At this point, it was a 180. The 5-time champion was vouching for Goldust to be in the New World Order. He was no longer a heel. He was more of a tweener around here as the fans started liking him. Add to that, he was very loose, you know. He wasn't uptight or angry as he was in the last few months. Goldust tried to convince him to leave the NWO because Mr. Sexy Boy Toy is back, and even went a step further, saying HBK didn't like their kind, as he was cosplaying Eddie Griffin from the Undercover Brother movie. What Goldust meant by that was HBK's racist, basically. That's basically it. And it turns out Goldust's claims of HBK being untrustworthy were true, and he super kicked the NWO out of Booker T. Of course, Goldust reminded him of his claims, but it didn't matter to Booker. It proved that he was the brightest star in the group. They couldn't handle having somebody like him in the NWO. They teased King Booker 4 years earlier, but that didn't happen, and instead, Booker was on the sidelines for King of the Ring. Luckily for him, he had some fun though backstage. Rawk ended up crossing paths with the two, and it led to one of the most entertaining interactions of 2002. They played off of each other, roasted each other, and praised one another. Definitely something special, and yes, it's one of my favorite segments from that year because there's just too much charisma and natural talent oozing from these guys. It's far too much. Nonetheless, the duel were clearly anything but finished with the NWO. Goldust went hunting for the group. He called X-Pac a bandana-wearing grease rat, and it turns out this was an elaborate scheme to catch the grease rat himself. Best of all, though, was when Goldust dressed up as Darth Vader. Booker got pissy and said that he ain't no nerd, but nonetheless, he started getting real comfortable with the saber, started making his own quotes. Unfortunately for the team, Goldust got attacked right before their tag team match. They retaliated though with X-Pac taking a beating soon afterwards. This instead led to a singles match between the two, which Booker won by count out, and Goldust returned just in time for the memorable 10-man tag team match. This man was pretty damn ecstatic over this, but unfortunately, this match is remembered for the quad incident. You know, Kevin Nash tearing his quad. A bunch of you like to talk about that. The babyfaces did put a whooping on the NWO, but HBK's interference was the decider. Before Booker could properly pay back the favor, the team disbanded. Instead, Big Show's gonna do from here on. Problem was, this guy was essentially a wall. He was damn near untouchable. He's blasting him with chairs, dropping him through announce tables. Because of this, a no DQ match between the two was booked for vengeance. The match itself was extremely fast-paced. It was an explosive counter that was over before it even began. The whole entire thing was literally 6 minutes. Booker was very aggressive in his approach and was rewarded with success. And with this newfound momentum, Booker started looking forward to the Intercontinental Championship. He didn't win the #1 contenders match, but opened the door for a true quest for the tag titles with Goldust. He was still annoying Booker with random references, bringing in a mini dust, but nonetheless, they started racking up victories against the likes of William Regal and the Un-Americans. What this meant was Booker T and Goldust were in line for a title shot at SummerSlam. Now, with regards to that match, it was good. It's nothing must watch, but it's very solid. Basic tag team story, and that's something that I noticed throughout this entire video. Like, these two, they weren't putting out world beaters. They weren't out there freaking telling amazing stories or anything like that. Their matches were solid. The champions were constantly stretching the rules for their own gain. The babyfaces were mad over, and if you were watching without any idea, you'd think it was their night. Despite fighting through every single one of the Un-Americans' cheating, it all came down to Testa's interference. From here, the guys did compete on Raw and were actually winning matches, but they never got that tag title shot just yet. Instead, the heated feud with the Un-Americans was still ongoing. It didn't have an outright conclusion, rather it transitioned into a feud with Chris Jericho and Christian. At the same time, they managed to piss off Eric Bischoff, leading to a couple of punishments from the GM. One of those punishments saw Booker T and Goldust face 3-minute warning in Houston. It wasn't a welcoming homecoming for the 5-time champion, but back to the tag titles. So Y2J managed to attack Booker T on Raw Roulette. As a result of this, the 5-time champion was hell-bent on returning the favor and crashing the party for the new tag champions. This clearly didn't work, but he got his match and no mercy. And yes, it was a tag team match. Similar to their other tag team matches, they told a simple story. The babyfaces were full of intensity and brought excitement to the crowd. And the match is somewhat infamous. I don't really hear much about it, but it's somewhat infamous for the line salt rope break thing. And once again, Goldust and Booker T were like the 76ers from that time period. They were so damn close to victory. This time, Jericho and Christian managed to bring in the title belt to aid themselves and barely escape. Following the event, both men went their separate ways for a while due to Booker T focusing on the Elimination Chamber and the world title. Soon enough, though, the duo were back together on the December 2nd, 2002 episode of Raw. After Christian interfered in Booker's match with Y2J, an impromptu tag team match was booked. Funny enough, it was for the titles. Again, shenanigans gonna shenanigans, and the good guys failed to win. It's a given at this point. The coach mentioned this, and Booker got frustrated. Goldust was pretty emotional over this and called himself the weak link of the team, and as a matter of fact, he blamed himself so much to the point where he was going to ask Eric Bischoff to give Booker a tag team partner. Now, this is something I've noticed throughout the run. Goldust had always been praising Booker T. He's telling him, you're the man, you're going to be big eventually and all that. He never really spoke positively about himself that much. This caused Booker T to look in the mirror. He said that since day one, Goldust was there wanting to be in a tag team. He saved him from dangerous situations, decided to offend Stevie Ray by calling Goldust his best partner ever. The motivational speech was more than enough to motivate Goldust for Armageddon. And with regards to this one, the craziest thing about it wasn't the action itself, no, but the fact that these two were going to lose yet again. It's just so weird to think because this team was over, they were loved by the fans, they weren't going to win that title. Like, come on. Let me explain the whole story. So according to Lance Storm, the team was taking yet another L, which would have been horrendous. I mean, you can notice the fans took a liking to them. They're one of, if not the most over team on Raw at the time. But luckily, it went well, and at Armageddon, for the first time ever, Goldust, as they were called by some, were holding gold. Goldust proved that he ain't no weak link, and they finally showed up when it mattered. Coach wanted their insight into the victory, and Booker said that while people like him didn't believe, the fans certainly did. Cool moment, especially when you look at the duo's booking. They're always loved by the fans, but it took a while for them to actually hold the titles. And with the victory, these two are back to doing those funny-ass skits. Of course, Christian had to ruin everything in this instance and inform them of the upcoming rematch. They ended up embarrassing him by bringing out some ass cream. Right before the rematch, Y2J was desperate to instill fear into the mind of Goldust, and even mentioned how the last time he was in the ring, Christian beat him, and that proves he's a failure. Those words seemed to affect him initially, but this man showed up when it mattered most. He contradicted Y2J's claims in a couple of ways. For one, he held onto the walls, just in time for Booker T to make the save, and second, Jericho tried cheating to win, yet he kicked out, and third, he rolled Jericho up for the 1, 2, 3, and in doing so, Goldust washed away all those self-doubts and proved that he is not the weak link of the team. Unfortunately, though, their next title defense didn't end the same way, so the title reign ended after 3 weeks. At this point in time, despite an impending rematch, Goldust believed that Booker could be much more. It could be much more special to the level of capturing the World Championship. Hell, he even said that if they lose this match, well, they go their separate ways. Since this was a Booker and Goldust match for the titles, you know how it ends. What this meant was the tag team was over. Booker didn't want Goldust to go out with his head held down, and he even said that he enjoyed every second of this run, and they hugged. So the tag team was officially over. But later that night, Goldust got electrocuted. He just randomly got electrocuted by Evolution and tossed him into this power circuit, and the results of this led to a couple of things. For one, Booker T crossed paths with Evolution, and second, well, he developed Tourette. He started to randomly stutter and speak normally, and all of a sudden he'd get stuck on a word. And the most memorable moment of this gimmick for sure was when he confronted Triple H and talked about how deep down in the cockles, yeah, he said that while stuttering, of course. Deep down, Triple H is scared or something along the lines of that, and he died. He absolutely went insane in laughter, and he couldn't let Goldust continue without joking around. The champ decided to mock him, and he struck. Booker came in for the save, and they sent the heels running, but by night's end, the game stood tall. Ahead of WrestleMania, Goldust made one final return to the squared circle in order to face Triple H and Ric Flair. Just like their non-title matches ended extremely well for the duo, and as for WrestleMania, well, other than a tag match in June 2003, these two are never back together. I personally, and a million of you guys, saw these two as some of the most entertaining wrestlers on the entire roster. They took that ball and ran out of sight. It's just proof that they had a natural talent that not many had. At the end of the day, even if Goldust wasn't the world champion or had the most decorated career, when we look at his run, we can clearly notice that he was really gifted. He's somebody that I truly underrated as a kid. Booker T on a lesser note, but Goldust, it's on a larger scale. I began to appreciate Goldust for his talent as the years went by. He's really that damn good. Now, I'm not saying he should win the title 10 times or anything like that, but for what he was, the gimmick, the character, the talent, all that, he was very skilled, he was very good. Now, as for Goldust's matches, well, they weren't out of this world, rather solid. Nobody really talks about the matches when this team is mentioned. It's the moments backstage where Booker is damn near close to bursting out. It's Goldust wearing some random outfit, making some reference from 2002, and just having fun. I do think Booker gained a hell of a lot of momentum heading into 2003, but that's a different story. This pairing, this tag team shows that you should never judge a book by its cornbread. Overall, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. The duo are not the tag team of the decade or anything like that, but for certain, they were that time period's most entertaining. That's all I have to say about this team. They were just very fun, and if you've never watched any of their backstage segments, well, you're missing out. Hell, if you haven't watched them in a while, just go watch them on YouTube, watch them on the network, wherever, you know? They're just entertaining, they're hilarious, and it's loads of fun. Simple as that. Alright, what do you guys think of Booker T and Goldust? Please comment down below, and that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the Shattered Dreams on the like button, and perhaps the scissors kick on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.